Welcome to Literary AF Podcast.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Literary AF Podcast. It's a podcast about
Books?
Literature, book stuff.
I wasn't sure if you were expecting me to fill in the blanks or if you were thinking about it.
If I was trying to think of a goof and failed?
Yeah.
Well, let's just leave that up to the listener's imagination.
Okay.
First off, this is getting posted on Mother's Day, so we just want to give a special thank you to all the moms, any moms listening.
Yes.
Especially if there are any single moms listening. Hi, my name's Sheldon. I'm single. My DMs on all social media are open, but I will not tell you my handle, so you got to find it and then you can DM me.
I want to say Happy Mother's Day to all the good moms.
Oh.
All the bad moms, I hope you stub your toes.
So, like a bad Mother's Day to the bad moms?
Yeah. People who don't deserve a Happy Mother's Day, I hope you stub your toes.
Well, I just want to say Happy Mother's Day to all the single moms. All the babes out there who have babes of their own. And my own mom. Hey, Mom. Yeah, I know you don't listen to this, but Happy Mother's Day. Also, off the bat, we've been getting some positive comments and feedback, and that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Just want to say thank you for the thousands upon thousands of tweets that we've got saying Sheldon has a handsome voice, Sheldon sounds so cool, Danny's okay, Sheldon's the best.
Wow.
I don't know if you saw all those tweets, Danny, but there were thousands of them.
No, I missed those.
No, but for real, we did get a couple of really nice compliments, and
it's nice.
Yeah, it feels good.
It feels really good. Thank you.
I'm a horrible, evil, shriveled up shell of a human who doesn't normally... I'm like the Grinch, and those comments made my heart grow 3 sizes bigger that day. So, Danny, what are we talking about today?
Today, we are going to be talking about some drama that went down, is still kind of going down in the romance writing community.
That's right.
It was under the hashtag CopyPasteCris. We actually talked about this, I guess it was 2 weeks ago now.
Yeah, we mentioned this a couple weeks ago. Author Christiane Saruya.
So I've been saying Saruya, but I'm terrible with names, so I just hope it's that.
I believe she's from Brazil.
She is, yes. She's a lawyer from Brazil.
And she's kind of cute. I don't know if you knew that.
I didn't pay attention to that part.
Okay. Well, just let the record state Christiane Saruya is kind of a babe.
Okay.
All right. But she has been accused of plagiarism and stealing from other romance books.
Yes.
In writing a book of her own.
I would say more than accused. It has been...
We'll get into it. We're just laying the groundwork here.
All right.
So I want to give a shout out right off the bat to a certain Redditor, user Scylla and Charybdis, who wrote a big long post about summing up the drama.
Yeah.
This is kind of the post we're going to use as our framework for talking about this.
They beat me to it because I had been writing the exact same post.
Yeah, your username also appears in the...
I had been writing the exact same post, and then I checked the subreddit again, and they had actually beat me to it by a couple minutes. So, way to go. Thank you.
Yeah, so we are going to talk about this. I am... No, I'm not going to say what I was going to say. All right, fine, I'll say it. I am something of a slut when it comes to drama. I just can't get enough of it.
It's good when it's not about you.
I should have said glutton.
Glutton works, yeah.
Glutton's better.
Yeah.
I'm a glutton for drama.
Yes.
Yeah, well, online drama.
Yeah, when it's not about you, it can be entertaining.
Yeah, just wait till our online scandal.
I hope we don't have a scandal.
Oh my gosh, I'm going to become the pro Jared of the podcast community.
Please don't.
Have you heard about that?
I've heard about that, yeah.
That is gaming related, so we will not talk about that on our literary podcast.
Not about books.
But turn into gaming AF, where we... No, that's not a real podcast.
We could branch out a whole bunch and just make a whole bunch of AF podcasts.
I refuse.
This one's enough of a time spend.
If Gaming AF already exists, you're welcome for the shout out. All right. So here is the breakdown of what's happened with CopyPasteCris.
Yes.
As she called.
Yes.
So, romance author Courtney Milan. She's written The Duchess War is the main book in question here. But Dan, do you know what else she's written?
Well, she wrote the whole Brothers Sinister series, which is the Duchess War, which is the one that has been plagiarized a bunch. But there's other books in that series. Like, it's a decently big one.
Okay.
She writes a lot of historical romance.
Yeah, I see. She has books such as After the Wedding, The Heiress Effect.
Yeah, that's part of the Heiress Effect is part of the Brothers Sinister series. So same series as the one that we were talking about.
Once Upon a Marquess.
Yes.
Yeah, she writes a lot of historical romance, as you just said.
Mm-hmm.
She wrote a blog post back in February, I believe.
Yes, it would have been February.
Called Christiane Saruya is a copyright infringer, a plagiarist, and an idiot.
Yes.
Through this post, she goes through a couple of sections of Christiane Saruya's book called Royal Love and shows it compared to the Duchess War.
Yeah.
And we gotta say, they are very, very, very similar. So, yeah, one thing I just want to say right off the bat, like, if you've done a lot of academic writing, you'll know a little bit about, like, plagiarism accusations and stuff like that. And sometimes it's so, like, you know, it's bare, like, you know what I mean? Like, it's like somebody had the same thought as somebody else.
Yeah.
And then maybe they use, like, 5 or 6 of the same words, and people are like, oh, this is plagiarism.
Yeah.
This is not that kind of situation.
No, this is a straight up lifting of entire paragraphs.
So we're going to read, we picked out a section from the Duchess War. Danny's going to read the section from the Duchess War, and then I will read the section from Royal Love.
Okay.
So the original, do you have it, Danny?
Yeah, I got it up on my phone.
Okay.
If you're any good in bed, I might fall in love with you, if that's where this is going to be anathema. No, he said swiftly. He looked away from her, and when he spoke again, there was a slight rasp to his words. No, that would be perfectly unobjectionable. From his words, she might have thought him uncaring, but that catch in his voice and the way he tilted his head towards her again gave the lie to his indifference. He looked at her like a... Phones went to sleep. He looked at her like a thirsty man gazing on an oasis, trying to decide if it were an illusion brought on by the heat. It made a sudden, impossible sense of everything. He doesn't want a loveless marriage. He just resigned himself to one.
And now for the passage from Royal Love. She stared back, both fascinated and appalled. And if I fall in love with you, is it going to be anathema? No, he said swiftly and looked away from her. There was a slight rasp to his words when he faced her again. No, that would be perfectly unobjectionable. From his words, she might have thought him uncaring, but that catch in his voice and the way he tilted his head toward her again gave the lie to his indifference. He looked at her like a thirsty man gazing on an oasis, trying to decide if it were an illusion brought on by the heat. It made a sudden, impossible sense of everything. So...
Pretty blatant.
Yeah, so, like, let's see, like, words that are ripped off, like, word for word. If I fall in love with you, is it going to be anathema? That's exactly what she wrote. Just the punctuation's changed.
He looked at her like a thirsty man gazing on an oasis, trying to decide if it were an illusion brought on by the heat.
Well, and the line, no, he said swiftly and looked away from her. There was a slight rasp to his words.
When he faced her again, no, that would be perfectly unobjectionable.
That whole line, the only thing she did was change the order of one of the phrases.
Yeah. No, these are pretty bad. I was like, this was a month after I actually made the Literary AF podcast Twitter, so I was starting to be way more active on there. Mm-hmm. And I was like, I was there the night this went down, watching when this blog post went up, and when everybody went, hey, wait, what? Yeah. And then it started to get worse and worse and worse. It was intense.
It says here on the Reddit posts, again, thank you to Scylla and Charybdis. When it comes to spotting plagiarism, phrases where the words exactly match above 8 words are considered suspicious, and many of these examples that Milan cited have above 20.
Yes.
So it's like, it's not just she lifts a phrase here and there. It's not just like, what's it called when two people are thinking, like, along the same thing and they end up with a similar thing? It's like parallel thinking or something.
Something like that. I don't know the phrase for that one.
But yeah, it's like if a comedian tells a joke that sounds like another comedian's joke, sometimes it's plagiarism, other times it's just, hey, we had the same idea.
Because there's only so many ways to say things.
Yeah.
Like, you cannot copyright an idea. Like, this is my plot where a poor woman falls in love with a rich man and he saves her from it. That's not something you can copyright.
Yeah.
And writing similar sentences is not plagiarism. It's going to happen with the amount of writing that is done, the books that are published. But when you're lifting exact phrases and it's enough that people notice that, that's terrible. And Chris Saria is a writer, but can you call yourself a writer if you're just copying other people's stuff? That's we got more to talk on that when we get to the rest of it. But
yeah, and I'm just gonna pull up the Twitter thread that from Milan here. So this is what got posted on the day that she discovered the plagiarism.
Yeah.
It says, "This is at Courtney Milan. Alrighty, everyone, it's time to name and shame. Let's hear a big shout out to at Chris Saruya, whose Twitter's now been deleted.
Oh yeah, she deleted everything like the next day.
Copyright infringer, plagiarist, and all-around idiot who ruined my day, and probably longer than that by plagiarizing The Duchess War." Sorry, it's all in caps. I had to have fun.
Yeah.
You all know that I'm very skeptical of plagiarism claims that are things just like, hey, they share a few details in common. This is not one of those cases. She links to the blog with all the stuff. She shares a screenshot of the part that we just read. I'm not exactly sure how to proceed from here. I will be seeking legal counsel. Yes, the copyright is registered. Yes, she lives in Brazil but does business with the United States. I don't know if she's judgment proof. Yes, I am vindictive enough to take her house.
Here's the thing. Courtney Milan is actually also a lawyer.
Yeah.
Yeah. That seems like a bad place to start your plagiarism, is lawyers.
Well, so sorting through this drama, I discovered that a weird number of romance writers are also lawyers or former lawyers.
Yeah. Like these are all these romance writers have had other careers. Like it's just they're a writer.
But
like there's lawyers and
But the funny part is that several of them were lawyers.
I was surprised about that at first too. There's a large number of lawyers.
I wonder if it's like lawyering is like it gives you some literary like grounding because you have to read so much and write so much.
It could be also, I assume it's quite stressful,
And romance writing is like a.
It could be an out.
Like an outlet, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, then the post goes into some of the writers that she's stolen from.
It's a list of like 42 or something by now.
Yeah, but the post that we're looking at just goes through like a couple different writers and talking about how like their place in the romance community.
Yeah.
Like basically saying that most of them aren't like the big names, but they're big enough that a lot of people who follow the genre will have heard of them.
Yeah. Like I knew a lot of them.
Oh, okay.
Let's see.
I didn't know any of them at first, but that's because Stephanie Myers wasn't listed. And
yes, of course.
Once you found the best, why bother with the rest? Sorry.
It ended up being a list of like at least 51 authors that were on the list of plagiarized.
Okay. It says sorry, I'm just going through this to see what's okay. So after Milan's original tweets, a whole bunch of people started finding dozens of other authors who have gotten lines copied and pasted. Copied and pasted. These authors range from New Guard writers like Milan, to Harlequin authors who probably didn't even know about the drama yet.
Yeah.
So then they list off a few, and I just want to read another stolen example here. From which one's from this? Danny, do you want to read the section from "If You Deceive" by Cressley Cole?
Yeah. Should you give me 1 second to find it here? My
Sure.
Tab closed on me. Okay.
Start from "She Shivered," I think.
Okay. She shivered, tugging her hand back until he released it. Look at you, Scott. You're a practiced seducer, if I've ever seen one. Practiced? For the last decade, his flirtations hadn't been practiced, they'd been non-existent. And before that, he'd never needed to seduce. Impulse had made him kiss her hand. So where did the sodding impulse come from? Yes, practiced. That kiss, to the wrist, is a perfect communication. The brush of your lips demonstrates that you'd been gentle and sensual in bed. The firm hold on my hand as you placed it indicates that you'd be masterful at the same time.
And so then, this is from CopyPasteCris. You're a practiced seducer if I've ever seen one, she whispered between a sigh and a giggle. Practiced? For the last decade, his flirtations hadn't been practiced. They'd been non-existent. And before that, he'd never needed to seduce. From where the sodding impulse came from, he didn't know. The brush of your lips demonstrates you're gentle and sensual, she yawned. She wanted to stay awake because she had never before felt so close to another human being, and she loved that sense of intimacy. But she had also never felt so tired in life. Your firm hold on my hand indicates you're masterful at the same time. A perfect communication. So other than the random insert of
occasional
the girl is
sentences,
tired,
yeah.
it's like exactly the same.
Yeah. Cressley Cole we've talked about her a lot on this podcast, actually.
Oh.
She writes those Immortals books that I do those episodes about.
And speaking of those immortal books,
yes,
should we do the Lothair section?
We can continue with Lothair, which I actually read like last week. I loved it. Lothair was so good.
Okay, so let's see. I want to see where...
Do you want me to read the whole thing, or...?
Do you want to maybe do it like paragraph by paragraph so that we can like...
Oh, one by one by one?
Yeah.
Sure.
So read the first line.
Ellie awoke to a groan, a male's groan.
And then this is Royal Love. Siobhan woke to a groan, a male's groan.
She cracked her eyes open, found herself curled in on the couch in the vampire's bedroom. She groggily reached over and turned on a nearby lamp, lighting the area enough for her to see Lothair.
She cracked open her eyes and groggily reached over and turned on a nearby lamp, lighting the area enough for her to see Angus sleeping on the sofa.
He lay asleep in his bed. She rose and crossed to him, curious to see if she'd find him so handsome now that she was rested and not acutely traumatized.
She rose and crossed to him, exhaling in resignation.
At his bedside, Ellie exhaled in resignation. How could he be so damaged mentally and morally, and yet so stunning on the outside?
How could he be so damaged mentally and morally, and yet so stunning on the outside? Clad only in dark jeans that hung low on his hips, he reclined on his side, his head resting on his forearm.
Clad only in dark jeans that hung low on his... Clad only in dark jeans that hung low on his hips, he reclined on his front, the side of his head resting on his forearm. His longish blonde hair was tousled, those unnerving eyes concealed.
His face was hauntingly flawless, with his proud patrician nose and broad cheekbones. Even the tousled, longish chestnut hair and the stubble covering his bold jawline were enticing to her.
His face was hauntingly flawless, with proud patrician nose and broad cheekbones. Even the stubble covering his bold jawline was enticing to her. Her fingers itched to trace up his lips to determine if they were as firm as they looked. She'd never really noticed men's lips before, but his were sexy.
Oh my gosh, it's so like blatant.
Oh, it's so bad.
It's so funny though.
Oh, it is.
I don't know why it's so hilarious, but it's just like...
It's just so blatant. And these are really popular books. Like, Lothair is one of the most popular paranormal romance books that I've heard of.
Yeah.
And she just... Did they think that this wouldn't be noticed? Like, holy...
All right, so then the Reddit post says, talks about the hashtag that got used, CopyPasteCris.
Oh yeah, it was huge. It was great.
So from one of the threads, at the time, they found a total of 35 books from 26 different authors, 2 recipes and 2 articles that were all plagiarized by Christianity.
Yeah, there was like a pheasant recipe and a cake recipe that got taken off the internet also.
Well, those I'm not as...
It was like, they'd copied the paragraphs about the recipe and then copied the recipe and put it right into the book.
Well, for me, those aren't like as atrocious or whatever. They're not as bad because she's not trying to write a recipe book.
Sure.
She's just like throwing it in for flavor.
It's still plagiarism.
Yeah.
Because like, there was the whole like, I'm going to write a paragraph about what this recipe means. And then I'm going to write the recipe, and she copied all of that.
Yeah, okay, so that's bad.
Yes.
I was thinking if it was just like...
Just the recipe? No.
Yeah, if it's like, I'm going to use 2 eggs and flour to bake this cake. And then someone's like, my cake recipe uses 2 eggs and flour.
No, this was way more blatant. Like, they talked about, like, the article or the recipe talked about the history or something, and it also copied the information about the history. So
then after that point, after that thread got started, Saruya finally responds. She says, wow, I just wake up to this. How could I have been plagiarizing 5 authors? I love your books, Tessa Dare, and I am a lawyer. I'd never do such a thing.
Yeah.
And then, right around the same time, good morning, Courtney Milan. I just woke up to this and I am astonished. I would have never, ever done this. I'm in this writing for a few years now, and I'm also a lawyer. Could we perhaps talk?
Yeah.
It's not been confirmed if Saruya is a lawyer, but Milan is.
Saruya is a lawyer.
Well, the notes...
the note says that at the time, I guess, yeah, but she for sure is a lawyer. They have, like, her bar number and everything.
Saruya?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Should we be making this podcast? Could she, like, sue us?
I don't think so. We're just talking about facts.
Well, if you're trying to sue us, my name is Josh Kane. You can find me at 123 Fake Street, Winnipeg. Please don't send fan mail to that address.
If we could be sued for this, they'd have to sue basically everybody who wrote articles about this.
Yeah, we'll have to throw this Scylla and Charybdis user on Reddit under the bus. Sue her first. Or sue them first. Okay, so then she then says, I just woke up to distressing news that my work has plagiarism from other authors. I'm taking down all the works I did with a ghostwriter on Fiverr, who, by the way, has closed the account until I've made certain this is solved.
Yeah.
Please give me a few minutes to gather proof, take the books down, and I will come back. I just sent an email to the Romance Writers Association, my rival organization. And then she says on here, I don't know who actually said this, it's just a random quote. From romance author Alicia Ray. I didn't know because I didn't even write my own books is a wild defense.
Yeah, the ghostwriters. So she claims that, like, all of her books were ghostwritten, the ones that have plagiarism in them.
Yeah.
And obviously it's not her fault that there's plagiarism in these books because she paid somebody on Fiverr.
Yeah.
So, if you're an author and you get all of your books ghostwritten, you're not an author.
Yeah, it's, like, especially because a lot of, when you buy a book, I mean, part of it's just like, oh, this is an interesting premise, it might be a good book.
Yeah.
But also, like, a lot of it is like, I've heard good things about this author.
Exactly.
Or like, I've read one of their other books is very good and I want to read more from this author.
Yeah. Well, it's like, it's different. Like, R.L. Stine had a lot of ghostwritten books. But R.L. Stine was, I feel like, more of an idea.
Yeah, it's almost like it was a brand.
Yeah.
Like, Goosebumps was just a brand to sell children's horror.
Aaron Hunter was the author of, like, the Warriors Cats books, and then they made wolves and bears and all kinds of other animals and manga and way too much for one person to feasibly do. And it turns out there was, like, a huge team of women who were writing all of these books under Aaron Hunter.
I wonder if the person who wrote Animorphs, if she had ghostwriters, because she was turning out, like, a book a month for years.
They weren't very big books, though.
Yeah, and they weren't very well written. Sorry. No shade meant to be thrown at K.A. Applegate.
That was a quick
shot. I love those books.
But, like, R.L. Stine and Aaron Hunter, they're more like brands. Whereas Chris Saruya, I'd never even heard of until all this went down. She wasn't a huge household name like those guys are. So I feel like it's kind of different when an author like that, all of their books are ghostwritten. Because somebody said that when Saruya asked them to ghostwrite the book on Fiverr, she gave them just a series of paragraphs, and what she wanted to do was have the ghostwriter thread them all together to be coherent. And the theory is that all of those paragraphs were the things that had been lifted out of other books And then she hired the ghostwriter to just like stitch it all together into one good book.
So to take a quote from one of the actual ghostwriters.
Yeah, because some of them did reach out to Courtney Milan, either anonymously or publicly. There was a few messages.
It says, I'm a ghostwriter who worked with the person in question in 2017 and early 2018 on 2 books. I think I can provide insight to whether the ghostwriter was to blame, as she contends. Her work, when given to me, was a number of mishmashed sentences that needed expanding, as she said. I took for granted that these were her own words and embellished as she requested. As this is how I work, I often help authors who are too close to their own book to get it in shape for publication. Now I can see that it's very possible those were plagiarized scenes that she was hoping a ghostwriter would change enough to make unrecognizable.
Yeah. And like, if the author wrote most of it themselves and then had a ghostwriter fill in the blanks or, fix it up here and there, okay, I guess you got to do what you got to do as long as, most of that work is your own. But to have like whole books just kind of A, copied out of other people's books and then B, threaded together by somebody else is just insane to me.
Yeah.
And she thought she did get away with it for a while.
Yeah, but apparently, according to this post, like, she didn't make a lot of money from her books.
No. If she had, I feel like if she had been
funny that she'd go to this extent.
Yes. Well, yeah. It's just crazy. The whole thing was insane. And it's still going on, kind of. But I don't get it. You want to be a writer, then you write something. You don't call yourself a writer and then have everybody else write your stuff for you.
Yeah, it's like, well, that's why whenever there's a big controversy over a rapper using a ghostwriter, it's the same ideas because, like, rap is, like, the lyrics are supposed to be very personal and supposed to, like, reflect the artist's voice.
Yeah.
So if they're just, like, stealing lines from people or, like, paying somebody else to write their stuff for them, it's not... It loses some of the mystique of who they are.
Right, like, you want to... You want to write because you want to write. If you just want to call yourself a writer, I guess, you'd get other people to write for you. I don't know why you would want to do that. I just...
So,
I don't get it.
Just to kind of wrap up a little bit, there's a few other things on this post that I find very interesting.
Okay.
Says there's a bit of side drama because this whole thing also dovetails with the problem of bundling where a lot of books from basically no-name authors get put together into a big ebook package that are sold for like 99 cents.
Yes.
Which then make their way to the top of bestseller lists.
Yes.
And then the author claims that they're, USA Today best-selling authors for more legitimacy.
Yes.
Saruya was one of those people.
Yes. There's also the issue with Kindle Unlimited farming, where you get paid based on how many page clicks you get.
Okay.
So people are just pumping out garbage books and then just getting as many page clicks as possible and just kind of just getting money that way instead of putting effort into their work. So, and there's a lot of Kindle Unlimited authors who are good at what they do, for sure. Yeah. But the system is being taken advantage of by people who just want quick cash.
Yeah, for sure. It's like, the same thing happens on YouTube with people making, like, clickbaity videos and stuff just for extra things. Or...
People on Instagram copying other people on Instagram to get ad revenue stuff. Like those 5-minute crafts things where they just, like, copy and paste from each other. It's cheap.
Also, Milan also tweeted, this is kind of funny, so apparently there's an award called the Rita Award. Yeah,
that's hosted by the Romance Writers Association, the RWA.
Yeah, and they call it like it's basically like the Oscars for romance writers.
It's huge.
And Milan tweeted, in an email to me, CopyPasteCris admitted that Royal Loves, that's Saruya's book, was entered into the Rita this year.
Yes.
And I feel weird about that because the Duchess War wasn't allowed to enter.
Yeah.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah. When all this drama broke, I believe they pulled her books from the Rita consideration. And I think she was also a judge, and they didn't let her judge.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah.
So that's kind of a breakdown of the drama.
Yeah, it's still ongoing. Nora Roberts recently opened up a lawsuit against Chris Saruya, and I know other authors are getting in on that too. So They will be pursuing legal action.
Well, that's good. It's like when you make your money off of like, you know, stuff that like that you had to come up with yourself, that you had to like painstakingly try to get onto the page, and like I've tried to write many times, and there's so much challenge to like you write out a sentence and it doesn't look right, and then you have to change it, and then you come back to it, and then like you come back like a month later and change it again, and like
Yeah.
like writing is like such an involved process, and the idea that somebody would just come along and be like,
I'm going to take this, I'm going to take this, I'm going to take this,
section,
and then I'm going to thread them all together, and then I'm going
to give someone $5
Yeah.
to try to like change it around.
Yeah. Just so, yeah. A lot of work goes into this. You write your first draft, and then you edit, and then you rewrite, and then you edit, and you edit, and then you edit again, and then you send it off to somebody else, and then someone like Chris Soria just comes in and just takes it and makes money off of it. Not a lot of money, but I mean, money is money.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's mainly what we were going to talk about today.
Yep.
The drama in the romance writing community.
There's...
Yeah, we wanted to do, because part of like Literary AF, we wanted to do not just like a book club where we're talking about, hey, I read a book, do you guys want to talk about it?
Yeah.
But also like more general topics about like literature and
Yeah.
writing and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And so this is our first attempt at that, so let us know if you guys liked it.
Yeah.
Also, I thought it'd be cool, I didn't warn Danni about this.
Oh?
If we started saying in advance what books we're reading, so if people want to like read ahead and then like
Okay.
be more informed when it comes up.
Yeah, for sure.
What are you reading next, or what are we talking about next week?
Next
Danni?
week we're gonna be talking about Red, White, and Royal Blue, which is a book that's actually being released on May 14th.
Okay.
I got an advanced copy, so I actually wrote a review for that, which is up right now, and we'll be talking about that. So
Fun.
Yeah.
And in 2 weeks, I'm going to be doing Wuthering Heights
Mhm.
by Emily Bronte.
It's one of the Brontes.
It's definitely one of the Brontes.
Yes.
I'm not looking it up right now. I know it for sure.
It is a sister of the Bronte family.
It is definitely... Yeah, it is Emily Bronte. Nice. I was worried it was Charlotte. But anyway, yeah. So I'm going to be talking about that in 2 weeks.
Mhm.
And yeah. I thank you guys for listening.
Yeah.
Danni, where can they find us?
Find us on Spotify, iTunes, YouTube, and Podbean, Literary AF. You can reach us on Gmail, literaryafpod@gmail.com. You can reach me on Twitter at LiteraryAFPod. We have Facebook also, LiteraryAFPod. I almost forget that one every single time. I think that's it.
And you can find me hanging out in the parking lot of your local bookstore, harassing random people, fighting raccoons for garbage,
Yep.
you know, just typical podcaster stuff.
Yeah. Yep.
All right. Thanks for tuning in, and we will see you on the flip side.
Bye.